Auschwitz. The rest were gassed on the 1st of August, 1944. The following month, Eva Justin was awarded her PhD. In the summer of 1944, U.S. Marines were heading for the Mariana Islands in the Central Pacific, part of the long campaign of island hopping toward Japan. The Marines would lead an invasion, starting with an assault on the island of Saipan. Marine Captain Orville Lamott was there.
A few days after leaving Pearl Harbor, our objective was announced. Saipan, of course. A large number had guessed correctly. Every day was spent in studying maps, operation plans, and attack orders so that each man from private on up knew every phase of the operation. The ship was a beehive of activity.
For 2 years, there had been bloody fighting as Allied forces tried to destroy Japan's cruel and brutal empire in the Far East.
We pray in particular for the President, for our Congress, for all our soldiers, for all who defend us in ships, whether on the seas or in the skies, for all who are suffering the hardships of war.
Troops debarking will get in the inside of the boat.
James A. Donovan was with the 2nd Marine Division.
In her long garage-like belly, it was a roaring, stinking inferno. Men, grim and sweaty, packed with all their fighting gear into the odd amphibian buckets with their howling airplane motors. The fumes and noise, the sheer discomfort, made it all a mad dream.
Marine Sherwood P. Moran.
I've been interested in asking some of the Marines why they joined rather than the Army. When I asked a nice, peppy young fella, only 17 years old, he replied, "You see, it's this way. When it comes to war, the Marines go in first."
Combat cameramen and radio reporters were with the 20,000 Marines as they stormed the island.
No guy likes to go in action, but you gotta do it. You gotta do it, that's all.
Now, why do we have to do it?
Well, they asked for it.
Morris B. Kransberg, 4th Marine Division, wrote home.
4th of July, 1944. Dear Jack and Mickey, it is an unforgettable experience. You shake and sweat and worry. I was praying to God to take care of me. And I was also thinking what a hell of a way and a hell of a place to die. Here I was about 7,000 miles from home, and I come all this way out to this godforsaken island of Saipan just to die. I didn't know what war was really like until I come on this operation. Believe me, it's an ugly, rotten, dirty business. You really believe in utter destruction. I guess I won't even remember this in a few years from now. And nothing else is new. Regards to all. Love, Maury.
American propaganda portrayed the Japanese as monkeys and savages, certainly not human. Marine Chuck Abels.
Hi, Johnny. The Nips never could get going against us with any big-scale stuff. The barrages kept them plenty scattered, so all they could do would be to tank up on their sake till they were croaked to the gills. Then out they'd come, screaming and shouting their fanatical Banzai war whoops. Nuts, Johnny, just plain nuts. That describes them in full. They don't give a damn whether they get killed or not. And that can't be human.
It is becoming an obsession with every officer and man in this division to kill Japanese.
In the Pacific War, it was kill or be killed. Platoon Sergeant Thomas O'Neill.
We had just made the turn in the road when we spotted 2 Japs. We got one, but the other managed to duck into the jungle. We continued on and made contact with a patrol from the 4th Marines. The hunting in their sector was pretty good. They were piling up quite a score. On our return march, we spotted a Jap, probably the one that got away that morning, sitting beside his fallen comrade singing some sort of chant. We made it possible for him to join his buddy. The night remained quiet. Rain again.
The Japanese called the Americans barbarians, devils, monsters, wild beasts. Japanese soldiers fought under a military code in which death was welcomed in the service of the emperor. Suicide attacks were part of this tradition. Corporal Kikuo Noguchi was in the 2nd Battalion of the 135th Division of the Imperial Army.
23rd June, close range attack led by Sergeant Okagaki of the 5th Company with 4 squads. Corporal Mizuguchi, 4 Private First Class Suzuki, Chikuyama, Ogasawara, and Otsuka, and 5 privates Ono, Ito, Yamada, Maeda, Fujita were killed in action.
The Japanese Code of Honor made it confusing for Marines like Bill Russell Lloyd of the 2nd Marine Division.
All morning we have been trying to take them off. They will not give up. They refuse to be taken aboard the boats. So after they repeat their refusals a couple of times, there's only one thing left to do. However, some have seen the light and give themselves up. One wounded officer that was taken was very well educated and spoke English very well. He wanted to know if there was to be a 4th term for the president and several other questions of domestic interest back home. Certainly is a strange war. All my love, Bill.
The final assault took place as thousands of troops and civilians took refuge in caves at the tip of Saipan. General Clifton Cates was commander of the 4th Marine Division.
I saw a most beautiful sight this afternoon. The first assault and capture of the last Jap-held ground on Saipan. I observed it right in the front line, and no pen of mine could describe it like it should be. With artillery, planes, and mortars pounding the airfield, the infantry advanced steadily across the rocky ground. No movie could make a better-looking picture. There was very light resistance until the beach was reached. The Nips had dug large caves in the side of the cliffs, and it has been a hard job getting them out. But they are gradually being annihilated with explosives and flamethrowers. Practically none surrender.
Lieutenant General Saigo, the Japanese commander, committed ritual suicide. Others, fearing rape and slaughter, blew themselves up with hand grenades. This is the last entry in the diary of Lieutenant Kawaguchi, one of 30,000 Japanese killed.
To have fought against the enemy carrying out my duty and thus becoming a war god, I'm very happy. My only regret is that we have not fought enough. I, with my sacrificed body, will become a white shroud on the Pacific.
3,500 Americans lost their lives during the assault on Saipan. By the time the dead were buried, there was fighting on the beaches of France. D-Day. In the Pacific, the killing continued.
The military value of Saipan and the other Mariana Islands was location. The chain sits just 1,400 miles from Japan, easily within range of a B-29 bomber. By late 1944, the Marianas were home base for American planes dropping bombs on Tokyo, and in August of 1945, the Enola Gay took off from one of the Marianas, Tinian Island, and began its flight to Hiroshima.